Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Jessica Nicole. I'm a self-published author of YA fantasy romance novels, and in today's video, I am curing my FOMO. What I mean by that is that, remember a couple videos back when I talked about all the books I read in March, and I talked a little bit about the books I wanted to read in April. I had the Six of Crows duology on my list of books I wanted to read in April, so it's on my April TBR. It still is, because I really want to watch Shadow and Bone on Netflix. And I'd heard through doing like some internet research that, you know, the Shadow and Bone Trilogy isn't as good as Six of Crows, and I just basically convinced myself that I didn't want to read it. But when I dug a little deeper, all the things that they were saying, all the things that people were saying they didn't like about the Shadow and Bone Trilogy are things that I really like in my YA fantasy romance reading experience. So I thought to myself, Jessica, you've never been a follower, don't start now. So I went and ordered the I had the Six of Crows duology. I went and ordered the Shadow and Bone Trilogy off Amazon. They are gorgeous, and I am so excited to hop into them. So I've got Shadow and Bone, I have Siege and Storm, which is huge, and then I have Ruin and Rising. I started listening to Shadow and Bone on Audible last night, and before we could even get to chapter 1, like I'm talking in the prologue, I have 3 things that I want to go back and highlight. So I think I'm going to enjoy these, and yeah, I'm just going to make a little reading vlog about it, and we'll see how I feel at the end of reading these. The storyline sounds super interesting, and I would love to, after I read these 3 and the Six of Crows duology, make a video of me kind of like reacting to the Netflix show and kind of comparing and contrasting the show and the books. So this is going to be completely spoiler free. So I will be just checking in periodically to let you know kind of what's going on in the books. I'm going to try to speed read these so that I can still complete my TBR for April, my original TBR plus these. Plus, I'm going to read another book because that would bring my TBR up to 9, adding these 3, and my OCD can't handle that. I need to have 10. So, here we go. Shadow and Bone. Alright, so I have the audio for Shadow and Bone, and I'm going to get the audio for the other 2 just because, like, I don't know. I want to read these kind of fast, so I'm going to read them with the audio. So I'm starting off with Shadow and Bone, then I'm going to go into Siege and Storm, and then I'm going to go into Ruin and Rising. Then the plan is to hop right into the Six of Crows duology, and then circle back to Love in the Time of Serial Killers and My Dark Romeo. So I am nearly 100 pages in. By the time I finish reading chapter 6, I will be 100 pages in. Side note, I bought these like magnetic bookmarks, and I really love them. So far so good. And so far so good on this book. I am really enjoying this. Our main character's name is Alina. She and her best friend Mel grew up together in an orphanage, and chapter 1 does sort of like a time jump. They're both in the army. They have different jobs, and they're both very different people now from when they were kids, but they are still friends. Alina has a little crush on Mel, and I feel like he has a crush on her too, but I don't know. But long story short, something happens where Alina kind of realizes that something happens and it's gonna like really change her life, and that's kind of like the point of the story that I'm at now. So in this world there are people called Grisha. They're kind of like witches, but not really. They're like, they have these superpowers, and there's different kinds. So you have people that can control the wind and fire. You have people that can like
heal, people that can stop your heart, things like that. And above all these, Grisha is the Darkling. He is basically he's his powers are kind of weird. Like, he's got these shadow powers, and it's actually kind of frightening. As you can see, I have been annotating a little bit along the way. But the Darkling finds out about Alina, and he kind of takes her under his wing. And against her will, she's on her way to the little palace to basically train with the Grisha because of something that she did, something that people saw her do. Now they assume that she is a Grisha. But I'm a little bit confused because in the prologue, like 3 people came to the orphanage to test Mal and Alina, and if they were Grisha, they were going to take them away to like the Grisha school. But like Alina didn't go to the Grisha school, so I'm trying to figure out what happened, why she didn't go to the Grisha school. I've been like highlighting different things about the world as well, so that I can keep track of what's what, because the different Grisha are identified by like the color uniforms they wear. So I'm keeping track of that, as well as quotes that I really like. I will say that I really like Alina's character. She's very outspoken, and like, she's not a pushover, which is very refreshing in these like YA fantasy girls from around this time period of writing. So I am enjoying this immensely so far, and I'm gonna read chapter 6, like I said, and that'll get me through my first 100 pages. So this is day 2 of Shadow and Bone, and I just finished chapter 12. I am so engrossed in this story. I have been highlighting like crazy in here. So many good quotes. This world is so beautiful, and it's beautiful in its kind of brutality, I guess, is a weird way to put it, but that's how I interpreted it. I'm to the point of the story now. Alina is in need of an amplifier to help her with her powers. Amplifiers basically make the Grisha stronger, but a Grisha can only have one amplifier in their lifetime, and once a Grisha claims an amplifier, it can only belong to them. So she's looking for this deer so that she can like make a necklace out of his bones to be her amplifier. So hence the title Shadow and Bone. She hasn't been able to like use her powers at will. Like, they only come out when she's in danger. So she's trying to figure out like how to use her powers up until this point, but she just kind of had like an epiphany about basically getting out of her own way. And I just thought that was really like poignant, like the way it was described in the book. And it just kind of spoke to something in me, so I highlighted like quite a bit around this point. But yeah, enjoying the book so far. Okay, so I am a little bit over halfway through the book at this point, because like from this part back, this is like bonus features, it's not the actual story. And I'm gonna make a prediction. We'll see if I'm right, but I feel like homeboy is finna die. Not right now, but he was in the story, like earlier, he was like one of the few like Grisha who like treated Alina with kindness from the beginning. And so besides like him, David, and Jenya, the rest of these people are like assholes basically. So, and I feel like this guy's gonna die because I mean, you read enough of these like fantasy YA books, especially like the ones set in like a war torn country, and you kind of get a feel for this stuff. And I don't want to be right, but I feel like I am. So that's my prediction.
I am in chapter 20, like I'm towards the end of chapter 20, and if you've read the book, you know what happens towards the end of chapter 20, and I'm just like, the betrayal of it all, y'all. Like, chapter 19 and chapter 20, the betrayal of it all. I just can't. I can't. I'm sick. I'm sick. I started Siege and Storm yesterday, and I am on page 131, and I am a little bit nervous. Okay, so Alina and Mal have basically linked up with this pirate and his crew of like rogue Grisha, because in this world, if you're a Grisha, like you have to be in the second army. So you have to basically go and like serve the Darkling in his army, which serves the king of Ravka. So they are basically like on their own. They are rogue Grisha that, you know, they have varying stories. Their parents hid them or fake their deaths, or they ran away from the second army. They're deserters. Like Mal is a deserter from the first army. But they basically have all linked up, and they're with this pirate. They're like have formed this pirate crew with this guy who's basically like, Alina keeps saying like he's weird, like there's something weird about his face, and so I'm trying to figure out like what he could be. I have a theory, but I'm not gonna say it just in case I'm right, because that would be a spoiler. So he's taking Alina. Somebody paid him to take Alina to him. So they're kind of low-key prisoners, but like she's making friends with the crew, and so is Mel, because Mel makes friends everywhere he goes or whatever. And there was a cool little quote in here that I highlighted about, she's saying like Mel is like basically he makes friends easily, he blooms where he's planted, and she called herself a weed, and the girl she was talking to said, I like weeds are survivors. So I just thought that was cool. But I'm a little bit worried because I'm like seeing something happening and I don't like it. With Alina, she basically, the Grisha can have these things called amplifiers. I don't know if I said this already, but they can have these things called amplifiers which help their power, like they amplify their power, right? So it's written in all the Grisha books that a Grisha can only have a single amplifier. We kind of see, but Alina's kind of testing that theory because of something she reads in like the Book of Saints. So basically the book covers make more sense to me now, because the first one was the deer, the stag. This one is like a water dragon, and the last one is like this red, like dragony, they call it the firebird. So basically we're on the quest for these 3 amplifiers throughout the series. So that's what we're on. But see, the amplifiers are gonna give her like more power, and she's kind of like, the more she uses her power, it seems like the more it kind of takes hold of her, like the more she likes the power, and it's kind of like scaring me for her character, especially like if you read the back, it's like she's got to choose between her power and her love, and I'm just like, I'm very nervous for what's gonna happen, but we're gonna keep reading and I'll let you know my thoughts. Alright, so I just finished Shadow and Bone, and I picked up Siege and Storm book 2. I will say that I'm so glad that I took a chance on Shadow and Bone, and I didn't listen to everyone else because I love the series. I pretty much love everything about it. And I'm in Siege and Storm right now. I'm almost halfway through the book. And so we're just going to continue this series. I'm going to read Siege and Storm and then Ruin and Rising. Then I'm going to do Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. And in between all of those books, I've decided that I'm just going to read My Dark Romeo on my Kindle. Just kind of like a couple chapters here, a couple chapters there. And that's how we're going to close out the month. So it will be the Shadow and Bone Trilogy. I can't do that with one hand. The Shadow and Bone Trilogy, the Six of Crows duology, Vipers and Virtuosos, which I've already read, Kingdom of Villains, which I've already read, and it will be My Dark Romeo. So that will bring me up to 8 books total. That'll give me 8 books total, which my OCD is fine with because it's an even number. And I think 8 books is pretty much my sweet spot because I can do like 2 books a week, just like on average in a month. 2 books a week isn't hard for me. So I think I'm going to just stick with 8 books a month and not like, not try to do too much because I like reading and I enjoy like actually getting to enjoy the book and not feeling like I need to rush through it. So yeah, 8 books is what I'm gonna go for from now on. So that means Love in the Time of Serial Killers I'm just going to like roll over to next month, or it might be later on in the year, who knows. But yeah, that's my little reading update.
Alright, so I am on chapter 12. I was right about Sturmhond hiding something. I was completely wrong about what that something was. This twist I could have never seen coming, but I love the way that she dropped hints of what was going to happen in book 1 and carried it over to book 2. We also get Fidyor back. I was also wrong about him dying in book 1. He did not. And I'm just like, I don't know. I loved his character so much, even though we didn't get to see too much of him. And so he's back. So he's back in chapter 12, and yeah, I am enjoying this so much so far. I already like this better than book 1, and I enjoyed book 1, so I'm just gonna keep reading. I just finished
Siege and Storm. I love this one so much more than the last one, and I really did enjoy the last one. I just feel like this one, I don't know, it like hits different. There's so much more emotional maturity to the characters in this one. I feel like the stakes are higher, the magic is bigger, the world's expanding, and we get to see Alina kind of come into her own a little bit more. She says it kind of here, like in the epilogue, the final like chapter of the book, where she's like, basically saying so many people have tried to use her, but now she's finding her true purpose. And I love this book so much. I did so much underlining. And I just cannot wait to see where this goes. I have no, like, it can go so many different directions. We're down bad, but we're not out, and I am so excited to hop into the final book. I think I gave the first book, I gave Shadow and Bone 4 stars. I'm gonna give this one 4.5. I really loved this. I don't know. Well, I don't know. I'm not gonna be picky about it because I did really love this book. I would go back to this book over and over again. So you know what? I'm gonna give this one a 5 stars. So it's on to Ruin and Rising from here. Alright, so I just finished Ruin and Rising last night, and I freaking loved this. Like, to all the people who say that the series is no good, like they didn't like the series, I'm wondering, like, did we read the same books? Because honey, like, 16-year-old me would have loved this, and 31-year-old me loves this so much. It is so good. It is definitely YA fantasy romance vibes, but child, like, there's so much depth to this. There's so much depth to these characters and to this world. Let me tell you guys, this world had me enthralled, and I love it so much because it is a fantasy world, but nothing about it feels fake. Like, this feels real. This world feels so real. Like, there's magic and stuff to it, but it doesn't feel like a fairy tale. Like, it feels very much real. It's very raw, and just, I don't know, like, parts of this will gut you just throughout the whole series. Just emotionally leave you very perplexed and leave you questioning. Like, morally gray is like the shade that everyone is painted with in this series, and I love it so much because it's so realistic. The way she describes things, the way she describes like landscapes or food or like festivals and culture, it's so rich and vibrant, and like, I swear you feel like you're like standing in the middle of whatever she's describing, or you feel like you can smell the fruit or smell the food, and or feel the wind on your skin. It's just, it's amazing. And I just finished the series, and I really cannot wait to go back and read it again. I have been like just in awe since I started it, and I'm so glad that I gave Shadow and Bone a chance. In this story, we are following Alina after the events of Siege and Storm. She and her friends are in hiding underground, and she's having to kind of like trust the apparat. The apparat is doing too much. Like, he's basically, she's like the saint. She's like, so people are like worshiping her as a saint because of what her powers are, but it's almost like she's a prisoner. And so she's looking for a way to get out. She does eventually find a way to get out, and they're on the quest to find this bird, the firebird, because I figured out that the 3 covers, I don't know if I mentioned this already, are like the 3 amplifiers. Moritsova, who is this like powerful, like the most powerful Grisha to ever live, created like these 3 magical amplifiers that will increase the Grisha's power. Alina's on the hunt for all 3 of the amplifiers. Okay, so once her and her like allies escape Mal in tow, and we're going to talk about Mal in just a second. But once they escape, they go on this journey to find this firebird. Also to basically stop the big bad once and for all. One thing that I love as well is how Lee Bardugo humanizes the big bad in this series. I loved to hate him the whole way through, but I also found myself pitying him at times, and I loved how Leigh Bardugo used him as a foil and a parallel for Alina. I love the connection, like what she did at the end between like all 3 of our main characters. Love Nikolai. I even grew to love Zoya. I love Misha. He's so cute and adorable. I love like the new characters we got to meet. Harshaw and Stig. And yeah, I just love the new characters. I love Adric. Freaking Jinya is amazing and just like my role model at this point. Yeah, Bagra, everybody. I love all these characters so much. Like, I remember them. They are so distinct. They stand out so much. And I love that about this series. They just feel real. Like, they feel like you know them. Speaking of which, like, imagine hating Mal. Like, because I've been on the internet, I've seen how they're hating on my boy Mal in this series. And imagine hating Mal for being like a regular, like, teenage boy, like an adolescent boy coming of age and trying to figure his stuff out, and like having so, you know, more issues than Vogue just from his life. And like, imagine judging him or Alina or the Darkling, or yeah, just for, or Bagra, or you know, for the mistakes that they make, like as they're growing and learning and dealing with all this trauma that they've endured. I don't know. I don't get it. Maybe it's because I'm just like a mature, like more mature person, like approaching this book, like, you know, age-wise, approaching this book, and I'm not like a teenage girl who thinks, I don't know, abuse is cute. But I don't know. I loved this story so much. I underlined so many things. I just, like, every 2 seconds. And the funny, like the levity, the humor, the levity in this book after like the hard scenes. Because like I said, this book is kind of heavy. Like, this subject matter is heavy in this series. And she wraps it up in like a pretty package so you don't really notice. But if you think about it a little too hard, it'll mess you up. But I love how she like bookends the tough scenes, the hard stuff, with light scenes, like very humorous things, very heartwarming things. I loved the interactions between Nikolai and Alina in this book. I love the interactions between Alina and Zoya, and thinking about how they were in the first book and how they are in this book. It just gave me like full circle moments, like full circle feels. The found family trope is very prevalent, especially in this book. And I love that. It's one of my favorite tropes. The moments between Mal and Alina had me just, I was not okay, especially with what happens like in the final battle. I'm not gonna give anything away, but like I was just like flabbergasted, floored, and just not okay for a while. But I will say that the epilogue had me like just, I was about to cry. Like, I almost cried. I almost shed tears over this book. So needless to say, this is a 5-star book for me. I gave Siege and Storm 5 stars, and I gave Shadow and Bone 4 stars. So overall, this is a 5-star series for me. I highly recommend it, and I cannot wait to dive back into this world with the Six of Crows duology. And apparently Nikolai has books in this world as well, so you know, I might dive into those at some point. And I love this. Like, I'm a Leigh Bardugo stan now, and yeah, whatever she writes, I'm ready to read. So that's gonna conclude this video, you guys. Don't forget to like this video, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you want me to read next. I read YA fantasy romance, or any, you know, fantasy romance is the genre that I enjoy reading most. And I will catch you guys in my next video. Bye.